Hey, I'm Josh at Vacuums R Us in Colorado, and this is Ed, and today we're going to be doing a hose replacement, a lower hose replacement on a Dyson, I believe it's a UP13.
UP13, correct.
And it's lower hose, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's two hoses on these. One of them is called the lower hose, and one of them is called the COV hose. COV changeover valve hose. We're going to be doing the lower hose today. Now, contrary to popular belief, the reason I have Ed here is because Ed is an actual technician. I'm not a tech. If you look at our channel, you wouldn't know it. I'm just the only one who's not afraid of cameras. But Ed actually knows how to do this, and this is a very difficult repair, so we'll pause here for the disclaimer. All right, before we start this repair, disclaimer time. This video is for informational purposes only. These repairs should only be done by factory authorized technicians in vacuum stores. If something goes wrong here, I am not responsible for any issues that might arise. If the vacuum becomes sentient and eats your cat, not our problem. Seriously though, watch the entire video. A lot of these repairs are very difficult. Make sure you're confident in performing this repair before you start, because the last thing in the world you want to do is take this machine apart and then bring it into a repair shop because you couldn't complete the repair. Many repair shops, like ours, will not accept machines once they've been messed around with. So make sure you can do this before you start, because you're in it to win it. Okay, and now we're back. So you can purchase this lower hose OEM from Dyson. The reason we're doing this video is that they're out of it constantly, and they tear all the time. And so frequently when people want to do this repair, you can't get the apart because Dyson will be out for 3 months at a time. So we have the hose. I'm going to link to where you can get it below. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be removing the end pieces that are glued to this hose from the broken hose that's in there and gluing them back onto this and putting it back in again. So we're going to use this. We also have a special glue that we use. It's a pliable glue. We're going to link that as well. And if you've worked on Dysons before, you know that they use a variety of different Torx bits. You can get them from some hardware stores. We've got a full set of Torx bits that are all the bits that you use on every imaginable Shark and Dyson. We'll link that below as well. Okay, so the hose that we're referring to is right here. And if you look closely, you can see the tear right up in there. And it's super common because this thing flexes back and forth as you lean the machine back and forth. Now there's another hose up here, the changeover hose that we had mentioned. We're not messing with that today. We'll do another video of that at another time. This is the one we're getting to. This is actually, I think this is the more difficult of the two, isn't it? I believe so. The lower hose is harder. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get into it. Okay, so first thing, I think we're gonna take the head off. There's a little red clip right there that will pop right off, and then the head will pop right off for us. Don't be fooled, that's the easy part. Then the filter, the ball filter will unscrew, the cover will unscrew, and that'll pop off. We can remove the filter.
And you do have to flip it over and take this ball off too.
Oh, and I think for that you use
just some needle nose
and you twist it, right?
Yeah, it's just like a half turn.
And then it pops out. Off. Okay.
And then same with this, you got to use needle nose to get into these little grooves. And then you just try to turn that off until you get it loose enough to use your fingers. And these come off. Now you got a bunch of little screws. You got these two little screws here. You've got a smaller screw right here. And on the other side, you have several screws. So you take these three off, this comes off, then you have more. Then there's a screw here.
That's a Phillips, I think,
That's
right?
just a Phillips, yes.
Tiny Phillips.
You take this one off, and then once you get these off, there's 4 screws here. And then you have to kind of pry this end off to get the hose out.
A lot of screws.
A lot of screws.
All right, let's get at it. So filter side, we're pulling off T8s. That was we had 6 screws, all the same size to take off.
And then under this, you have 2 more. You got to kind of slide this, and they reveal themselves.
Oh, so these right here.
Yep.
There's one there and then one there. Okay.
Yep. So that would probably be the T10. Yep.
T10. And these are silver.
All right. So those 2 are out.
All right, so those are short little silver buggers.
Yeah, so then of course this lifts a little bit, and you'll need that later. So then on this side, you have these 2, and these might be Those are back to the T8. Now there's this one over here, right there, that little teeny one, and that is also a T8. But it's a smaller little screw.
And it looks like it's got a rounded head too.
Yes. So we can kind of set that over with the silver one so it's different than the other ones.
Okay.
So these 4 screws here actually is what's holding the other half of the hose.
The plastic thingy that the hose goes into.
Yeah. And then these 2 up here separate these 2 pieces on the vacuum. I would use the T10 on it because it's a better fit. So then you take these 2 out and see how it separates these. And then these.
Okay, slight correction here. We swapped out our T8 for a T10 on those black screws a moment ago for these 2 black screws. We realized they actually are T8s. It's just our T8 bit is a little bit stripped out from overuse. So all the black ones are T8s and the silver ones are T10s.
Yeah. All right, so now that you have this, now you see the bottom part of your hose, okay? So now you have to get to this screw here, which is just a Phillips. And it's a small Phillips, so we use like a small bit.
Pretty sharp bit, yeah.
Yeah. To get that out. And it's a really short one too. And then you just kind of pop that. So typically, you know, when you take this off, the hose is ripped anyway, so you don't have to be like uber delicate. Just kind of get it out from behind here, and then you have this part. So here's the thing. You don't really want to take this side off because there's this little thing here.
No, that white gear mechanism.
Yeah, and it's a real pain to get it back. So you do take it off from here. Give it a pry this. There we go. So pry this enough.
Oh, so you can just slide it out without ripping the whole thing apart.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not so bad.
Yeah, so it's a lot of screws, but then you just kind of pry it and you just slide it out, and then you can put this back. So now there's also a spring here. I would take that spring off and leave it with the screws because you'll need that later, and it could fall off as you're doing stuff. Yeah. All right, so now you have to take this little ring off of this other little ring. So you can just kind of pry these little tabs. Let me get a thinner screwdriver. You just kind of pry that little tab there. There we go. Now there's one on this side. So then you take that off. Now you have to get, these are glued on. You have to get these off and then clean out the grooves to be able to screw. The other ones will just screw on there, but you have to get these off first. So basically what we do is we just rip them off. So you can just kind of cut it so you can get to the metal part like this. And then you just kind of go like that. And you see all of this, you have to get all of that out and clean the grooves. And then you do the same thing, so that comes off. All right, so then you see, actually this came off fairly nice.
But those grooves on this have to be completely clean for it to fit.
Right. And good way to do that is just the same X-Acto knife. If it's sharp, you can just kind of cut in the grooves. All right, so then I have like picks. You can take these picks and just try to go along after you've cut the edges of the hose. And honestly, I try not to, but if you kind of get into the plastic a little bit, don't freak out and be like, oh my God, I made the grooves bigger. You don't want to cut like the edge of a groove, but sometimes you have to kind of get into the plastic a little bit to get the hose stuff off. Now we're going to go into this one, and this one's...
So there's a little bit of residue in there, but that's all right.
Yep, that's all right. I've tested it. The hose will go on there. You don't have to like get it out so it's completely clean, because I honestly don't think you could.
I know somebody's going to ask about solvents or something on there. You've tried that. It doesn't help. It's easier to just pick it out.
Yeah, it's easier to pick out because solvents, I mean, yeah, some solvents can like dissolve the glue. Any solvent that's going to be strong enough to dissolve the glue could get into the plastic and then maybe weaken the plastic. All right, so
got it cleaned off.
We got it cleaned off. We're going to put some of this epoxy bluish stuff. It's just kind of a gel type glue.
It remains pliable as it dries. That's why for all these hose repairs that we do.
Yeah, because you don't want something stiff like super glue, because you want it to be able to move, like silicone rubber kind of thing. You don't need like a ton, because it's kind of like a super glue.
And these things go on super tight anyway.
Yeah, they do. Once you get them on, like if you're putting on to test, good Lord, it's really, really difficult to get it back off again. So if it's not on there perfect, like you didn't quite get it right,
don't crank it down because you ain't getting it back out.
You're not getting it back out. You can, but you might hurt it. And then once you get it in there, you can kind of take one of these little, if you have one of these, if you make one of these, you can just kind of move it around like this. Just to kind of get it in there. All right. Okay, so now that little thing I said, make sure this goes on the hose.
Pro tip.
Yeah.
Which direction? Yeah.
And this the tongue has to go facing out because it's what screws on to the end. Okay. So then you have this, which I didn't put glue on yet, so we're going to go this side first. All right. So then you just kind of start it. So you got this little black rim, and then you have the groove starts right here, just like threads, basically. Okay. And you're going to do that, and you're just going to turn, turn, turn.
And if I remember from seeing this, on these, it actually stops. It's got like a stop point.
There is a stop. Yep.
There's a stop right there. So you know when it's all the way on. Yep. Cool.
So it's on there.
Sweet.
And the other thing you have to keep in mind is the tab has to be opposite, because if you have it backwards, it won't attach here. So you have to, so this has to attach.
So the tab is on the whole side.
Right.
Okay.
So this has to attach under here, but then also be able to screw on the end. So then now we're ready for this other end, because you have this on there. Like I say, it's very important because you're not getting these off. It's even without the glue, they don't just unscrew.
Right.
They screw on very easily. You would think you could just back it out, and you really can't, because I've tried that and it doesn't work. So just put your glue in there. All right. Now screw this on. So then when this is sitting like this, the clips are in the right spot.
The clip is going to be in this, oriented generally in this direction.
Right, so you have to line up kind of with the opening here.
And when you're putting the hose on, there's a stop right about there where that wire will stop. So there's clips on the side where this will clip together, and that will end up with this piece pointed up.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of play, like an inch or so on either direction, because the hose twists back and forth. So it doesn't have to be dead on.
So now you have to just get this piece back over it.
And that's why it's so important to get this cleaned out, because if it's not cleaned out, then the hose bulges and it's really hard to get it.
And you might have to just push it down anyway, because it's cleaned out as much as it's going to get cleaned out. But you still have to just
slide that thing up over there.
Yeah, you have to get it up over there. And once you get it over there, it's fine. But you do have to kind of push as you go.
And using lubricant on this would be a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Because then it would degrade the glue and also potentially slide off over time.
Yeah. Need a little more extra oomph. And I don't have it. So you can take some pliers and just kind of grab it like this. Just squeeze a little bit. There we go. And if you need to do it on the same side, just make sure you don't grab the hose, just the plastic.
Because then we'll have a torn hose. And we're back to square one.
All right, and there we go.
Cool.
The spring you can put on now, actually this is where I would use like a super glue that glues, that
adheres faster.
Adheres a little bit faster. So I'm going to do that because I've put it in there and it's flopped out, and it's really hard to get it in there once this is in, because it doesn't open far enough to really do that. This doesn't go all the way down on this thing. It just sits there. And then it sits in this little slot right there. And then it just has that little play. All right, so now it's just basically doing the same thing backwards that we did. So this just slides in here like this. Okay, so in here, you'll see, maybe not, but there's these little screw holes line up with these little...
These things right here?
Yeah, with those little things right there. Because they are raised, so then you kind of just put them on there.
Okay.
And then once you...
So you put those 4 screws in first before you put everything else together?
Yeah, or at least one of them, because it'll hold.
Okay.
Okay.
And those are silver, I think, T10s.
Yes, those are the silver ones. I'm going to move this back. Do You can get that in the slot. Now, a lot of times once you get it close, you can put this piece back and it helps it to line up. You just have to get it back over here. There we go. Okay. There we go. So then once you get that down, it's easier to kind of find where it sits. So now it'll sit right up in there. And you can take one of these screws. All right, so this piece looks like this. There you go. Sits like that. This will come back together, and then you put those two screws in, which are T8s. All right. So now, kind of delicately bend this enough, and this is a very I've seen
those things broken so many times.
Yeah, it is very, very delicate. If you try to do this and bend it far enough to go under like that, you can snap that sometimes. So if you bend it this way, and put that in first, then you can slide that out of the way like this. Oh. And then there's a little clip that you might be able to see on the end of this. See way down here? That clip, that little edge.
That's what snaps into right there.
Snaps into there. So you have to get this lined up.
And it's tight when the hose is new too. Yeah. Super tight the first time.
As you see these little things here, you do have to kind of twist this a little bit
to get it
back lined up right there.
Yeah.
And then it snaps. Okay. Stand right there. We go.
Boom. Boom.
And it snaps in. You can see it's in the groove. That's where the screw goes.
All right, and this is the tiny little Phillips.
Yeah. So there we go. That's it. And it's just a matter of putting everything back now. So you got to do this.
Oh yeah, the two screws that have the cutouts right there.
Yeah, the little cutouts. You got to get those oriented.
And those were the silver. Those are the last two silver screws.
Yep, and those are T10s. All right, so now all these T8s. There we go, and it sits on. And now you can do this and just. So there's that side. This back around. And then we have this. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. And these are weird because they're angled, but they're not angled. All right. Now, this little thing is the last one. And it goes right there. Okay, and then this, little half turn, you're done. To put these back on, a lot of times it's easier to put this little ring on first.
And then they just pressure fit, yep.
Yep, and then it just snaps right on after that.
Wiggle it on, yep.
Just like that.
Cool. And you might see a little bit more tension on here with a new hose as you lean it back. It may come up a little bit if you lean it way, way back, but that wears over time a little bit. Okay, this has been Ed. It vacuums are us and sewing too. Oh wait, I'm sideways. I'm sideways. No. Smile, Ed. Wave.
Smile.
Thank you, Ed.